be banned from being in those games, which technically is probably going to trigger a huge mega lawsuit that will go all the way to the Supreme Court, because you cannot, as NCAA, you don't have the right to retroactively overstep your bounds and say, oh, we're going to retaliate against you because of a state law. Like, this is going to be bigger than when Texas was starting their own network, Longhorn Network, and they were in the Big 12. They're still in the Big 12, but when they were like starting it, and there was no Big 12 network really, and Texas had their own network, and Texas was going to get all the billions of dollars of TV revenue and ad revenue just off Texas Longhorns network, and other schools like not TCU, they weren't in the Big 12 at the time, but like Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, they weren't necessarily big enough to do that. That was a huge fight, and then now you have all the Big 12 networks, the Pac-12, American Alliance Conference networks. By the way, UConn voted, the UConn board of directors, they voted to leave the American Alliance Conference for football. So UConn Huskies are going back to the Big East to play football.
So you're saying that if any of these Californian collegiate athletes are financially benefiting from their name, they are the team that they represent for, they're going to be banned from any championship. I'm sorry if I'm like lost or if I completely misheard what you said, but I'm trying to figure out like what's.
Yeah, so pretty much, I'll give some more details. But Republican Jeff Stone directly articulated the potential NCAA response to the bill's passage, noting it will be in direct conflict with NCAA policies on compensation. Pretty much, NCAA policies, only we can make money off your name. Athletes can't make money off their name and likeness. And this bill is in direct conflict with that. It's already passed the Senate, the California Senate, and it just needs approval from the Assembly's Arts, Entertainment, Sports, Tourism, and Internet Media Committee. And if that bill survives the hearing, it would go on to the Higher Education Committee, and then it would be passed. It would have to pass by July 11th for it to go into effect this year. And Emmert wants it to be postponed in the committees, even though it already passed, and the resolution would go in effect until 2023. So pretty much, he just wants time to find a way to screw athletes over in California out of not being able to make money off their likeness.
That's fucked up. When
it could be a state law very soon, and it could pass this year.
So the way I understand it is basically the state senate created a committee to look into this, and now they've come forward with the bill, and basically the NCAA guy who you mentioned is like
the devil.
If you run forward with this bill, we're going to ban all your teams from postseason play.
California, USC, Stanford, Cal, the whole Pac-12 pretty much.
UCLA. And then from there, they were like, well, we're still going to do this bill. And essentially what the bill is it would protect the NCAA from banning schools for accepting payment on their likeness. So basically, essentially,
Reggie Bush could start recouping money off you.
Exactly,
the millions of dollars that USC's made off.
It's not even necessarily like a rule where it's like, okay, you need to pay players for their likeness. It's more of a rule
you can't
against the against the NCAA. But further, there's also a bipartisan bill in Congress right now that would allow collegiate athletes across the nation to make money off their likeness.
Because nobody knows the real purpose of the NCAA. They just collect money and are doing a bunch of nefarious shit.
I think, well, somebody else said this on the radio, but I think the schools that really need the NCAA are one, the small schools. So your Cal State Northridges and your Cal State Fullertons and et cetera, et cetera.
Boise State, I guess.
And your school and your small sports. So, but in terms of Stanford football, USC football, they don't need. They have booster clubs that could fund not only their season,
exactly why
but break off other people for playing
sports.
there.
And that's exactly why
for walking
he's
that picket line.
Retaliating because he's like, "Yo, that's all my money.
Exactly.
And y'all are trying to cut me off for my money. And
but that's the whole thing, though, is because
rather
those
than me
teams
getting a whole pie, now you want me to get a slice.
He got a raise.
Well, the whole thing is
it will be unregulated.
The whole thing is like, yeah, we're talking about big money sports like basketball and football, but between Stanford, Cal, USC, and Berkeley, they're winning championships across the board. In water polo, swimming, golf, etc.
Tennis.
Those are 4 of the top schools, in banners across the board, not just the money making sports.
UCLA has the most banners, if I'm not mistaken.
So, and I know it hurts you to say that, but the point is, and this is something that I've come across. This is going to happen. It's just a matter of when, right? So if the NCAA is smart,
I thought the Ed O'Bannon lawsuit.
If the NCAA is smart, they should get in front of this and just let it happen, so that they can somewhat manage it or work out a way to where the other small schools don't get screwed. Because look, like I said, if this shit does happen, Stanford and USC are going to be okay, but all the Cal States are going to get fucked. So if the NCAA actually does care about those small school sports, which is the reason they exist, they need to figure this shit out because it's going to happen.
I don't think so. I think they might even be better off. Imagine if you could be a 5-star recruit going to San Diego and get paid.
Where are you going to get money from, though? And because you're a state school, you can only take gifts a certain amount of certain ways. There's all types of red tape.
There's a lot of under the
There's a lot of red tape.
A lot of under the way tables.
There's a lot of red tape.
But
what I'm saying
is, it's a state law in the entire state of California that you cannot punish me for getting money off my likeness.
But what I'm saying
there's
is,
plenty of accounts. I can get a business account. I can get a personal account.
But what I'm saying is, where's that money going to come from?
Advertisements, anything. Remember
the kicker, you only get so much.
You're
only going to get so much for that.
The kicker who lost his eligibility for UCF because he didn't want to get rid of his YouTube channel.
No.
Monetizing, it could be that. It's cats who are making money, like Northwestern. They had cats who were making money off their major.
No, I agree.
I
agree
stop
with you.
That.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think.
And
I've definitely come to the point to where it's
they have to be paid.
Athletes
need too much money.
I still don't personally think they should get a salary, but I think they should definitely be able to operate
and make money.
Off of their own likeness or off of their side hustle or off of their YouTube channel or whatever. If it's their work and if it's their name, you should definitely get paid for that.
Should they be allowed to hold down a job?
If they can, I don't think it's really possible to be an athlete and really hold down a solid job.
We're going to interview some JUCO players in the future. We're just putting that out there. But we're going to find out how they do it.
I mean, I'm not. It's possible.
Yeah, I know it's possible.
It is, but it's not.
That's insanely
healthy.
hard to be working a job and going to school and be a college student. Yeah, you got to give up something. But that's just my whole thing. Okay, fine. You don't want to pay them and give them a salary. You don't want to give them lifetime insurance, which is. But I think, but you can't tell them they can't in a capitalistic society.
Tell them that exactly. And that's what you can't go professional.
You can't compete in a market where you're going to school to compete in a market. The fuck are you saying?
I think there shouldn't be any rules on age in terms of the pro football if the NCAA is going to continue to exist. Period. I think.
Nope. I don't want an 18-year-old kid in the NFL. He's gonna get killed. We're not ready.
I think
most cats are not ready.
They're not, but I think that's a risk you have to take. But even just going to the AFL, going to the CFL, going to a semi-pro league, a development little league, if you want to make bread. Go get your bread, Okay,
but look at the NBA. Look at AAUs.
And cats it's happening. It's happening in the NBA now. Cats are making
money in AAUs.
In the NBA, it's happening now. Finally, people are going overseas. People are going to the
safer bet.
The JBA. They're going to the G League. They're going to these other places because, they might not be ready for the NBA, but they can still find someone willing to pay them for their talent and for their potential and development. And so, in order for, that's what I'm saying. It's
I got another story.
You have to have a choice, right? You can't just be we're going to force you to be an amateur and force you to not get paid off your talent.
That's damn near indigent servitude.
If you're gonna say, oh well, we're gonna barter a college education in exchange for you to do that, then I should also be able to have an option to go and get paid and just forego that whole situation.
Yeah, and if you're gonna have me go to school, but then put me on a track scholarship and I'm really a football player, then you shouldn't be able to say anything to me during football season. Come to me during track season if you got a problem. And a lot of schools put cats on different scholarships. That's an old trick. But there's so many tricks you can blue shirt guys, the gray shirts, all that. You can do all that, but cats can't get paid. Cats can't even, they just barely said, okay, all athletes can eat food now. Walk-ons can eat now.
Yeah, it took them how long?
What kind of wild shit is that, bro?
90 years?
Wait, say that again?
A couple years ago, they finally put in a rule that athletes can eat for free.
I did a story on it back in the day.
They can, yeah.
They can eat. Wait. They can what?
So before basically, if your coach came and brought you a big bag of tacos, that would be an NCAA violation.
A pack of gum, some water.
That would be an NCAA violation.
Ice cream.
Because that would be a gift. And you're not allowed to take those.
If your parents bought you a car, that's an NCAA violation.
So basically, they're trying to have these collegiate athletes like Foot Locker. I'm going to have you sell these shoes, and even though that person wants to pay you because you help them out, you can't take a tip because that's in violation.
Exactly. Something like that, except for...
Damn, you hate Foot Locker, too?
Something like that, except for it would be like if they owned the Foot Locker.
You can't even work at that Foot Locker.
It would be like if they were the Foot Locker manager.
You can't even get an employee discount because that's a violation.
Yeah. But all right,
dumb shit
we're already over time, so get to your next story.
Cool. So this kind of ties into the last story. So a survey was done. Joseph Tucker, Bleacher Report, I saw it, 25th of June. 19% of NCAA trainers say coaches played athletes deemed medically unfit. The National Athletic Trainers Association released the results of a survey Tuesday that outlined how 19% of the trainers interviewed said college coaches allowed a student athlete to play who was medically out of participation. So the president, the NATA president, Tori Lindley, said, to think we're in 2019 and that would still happen is really concerning. It should be concerning for everyone involved in that institution. It should certainly be concerning to the parents and certainly concerning to the athlete. And the funny thing is, Clemson isn't being forced to share the results of the probe because 4 of their guys got hit with PEDs. Remember Dexter Lawrence and a couple other guys, and now 2 of those guys are suspended for an entire year and can't play. But Clemson doesn't have to reveal the results of that probe. So to tie that in, and also the survey.
So once again, the ACC being trash.
No, I just want to let y'all know this goes into the whole medical thing. If cats are getting suspended for taking allegedly performance-enhancing drugs, and then you're turning around and saying that 19% of the athletes, the trainers are saying 19% of the athletes shouldn't have been on the field that were on the field. That's crazy. But yeah, according to the survey, about 36%.
I don't think that's what they're saying. I think 19%
of the
trainers are saying that coaches played players.
And how many countless scenarios could that be? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure.
So it said, according to the survey, about 36% of respondents reported that a coach has been able to influence the hiring and firing of sports medicine staff, and of athletic trainers who reported that happening. 58% then reported being pressured by a coach or administrator to make a decision not in the best interest of a student-athlete's health. One example cited by the NATA survey, a trainer alleged a D1 football coach had personally spoken to players who were scheduled to undergo shoulder surgery. He convinced multiple players to forego the procedure in order to be available for spring practices. Maryland offensive tackle Jordan McNair died in June 2018.
Yep.
He showed signs of extreme heat exhaustion during a team practice before collapsing due to heat stroke. And the trainers... so according to... this dude named Dinich, according to Heather Dinich, my bad, ESPN reporter, Maryland football trainer Wes Robinson instructed the team's interns to drag McNair's ass across the field, which is substantiated in an independent investigation commissioned by the University System of Maryland's Board of Regents. A Garden City Community College football player died shortly after the team's first summer.
Yeah, I read about that too.
Yeah. Following an autopsy, a medical examiner determined exertional heat stroke to be the cause of death.
And the reports on that were different. Some of the coaches said he pretty much was fine during the workout and just like walked off afterwards.